It's time for another edition of Mets Musings.
Hi, this is Ron Darling. This is Skip Lockwood.
Hi, I'm Ron Swoboda of the 69 New York Mets, and you're listening to Mets Musings with Gary Mack.
Now it's time for some New York Mets baseball talk. Here's Gary Mack bringing you the latest news and analysis from Mets Nation and the world of baseball on another edition of Mets Musings.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Mets Musings. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's a special Thanksgiving edition of Mets Musings, and we do have news. Billy Appler was officially introduced as the Mets' new GM, alongside Mets owner Steve Cohen and team president Sandy Alderson. The Mets chose Appler as GM because he understands the challenges that New York represents. Having worked here for a number of years with the Yankees, his last job was with the California Los Angeles Angels as their general manager. So he has some knowledge of the leagues and knows the farm systems and the rosters of some of the other teams. So should be a good hire for the Metsies. We'll see how it all works out, but he's going to hit the ground running, and he's got to, because that December 1st CBA date is closing in awfully fast. And they want to get the guy signed as many, because if the rosters get frozen, you cannot negotiate. There'll be nothing going on if there's a lockout or end-or strike or whatever you want to call it at this point in time. But so far, the Mets have not had a lot of luck in the free agent market. Now, Epler says that's the area he wants to concentrate in, doesn't want to really trade prospects, doesn't wish to give them up, wants to build a farm system. I like what I'm hearing there. And will do some deals by trades and by free agents to fill out the current roster. It's not working well so far. Not all on him, of course. He just took over. But you probably know by now that Syndergaard declined the qualifying officer and signed with the Angels, the same Los Angeles Angels. After, if you ask me, he led the Mets on. He begged for a qualifying offer. He went to sporting events, egging the fans on to get the Mets to give him a call. They gave him a qualifying offer. Then he turns around and goes out to the coast and takes an offer from the Angels for 1 year, $21 million, $2.6 million roughly more. Come on. $2.6 million. I'm all for the guys making the most money that they can, but $2.6 million is not what I would call, breaking the bank at this stage. He said the Mets weren't warm enough up to him. They didn't. The Angels sat him down. They seemed more interested in him. This, that, and the other thing. They talked about his plans for the future. Well, maybe the Mets would have done that if you had accepted the offer. Then they would have talked to you about all of that. But I don't get it with these guys. They want loyalty, but they're not willing to show loyalty. After the Mets stuck by him 2 years. And still offered him a qualifying offer, and he burnt them and walked away. So good riddance. And he told them about it when he was on a plane flying out to take a physical to sign a contract. So come on. I don't know. Doesn't sit well with me, but good riddance to him. We'll see you around the corner. Aaron Loop also signed with the Los Angeles Angels, so Angels making a bid. Who else is going to be out there? They're going to sign Mr. Met next. Maybe the Pin Man or the Cowbell guy. He'll be going out there. Who knows? But those two guys are out there. Mets continue to look for pitching. They thought they were negotiating with Steven Matz. If you read the reports around this week, you would think they had a deal with Steven Matz. We were closing in on a deal, and then all of a sudden we get a notification he signed a 4-year deal with the St. Louis Cardinals. So Matz is gone off the board. So it hasn't been a good week for the Mets. Good 2 weeks. I missed last week's show due to an illness. But I'm back now, and it just hasn't gone good for the Mets so far. And, getting back to Epler, he's got his hands full now. He's got to get some depth in the starting pitching. Right now, the rotation looks like this. DeGrom, Carrasco, Walker, McGill, and Peterson. Now, DeGrom, we all know, is coming back from an injury. Carrasco came back from an injury, but we'll see how and what carries over into this year. Walker was great in the first half, terrible in the second half, but he had pitched more innings than he had ever pitched before. So, that could have had something to do with that. A little fatigue set in. McGill, same kind of deal, never pitched that much, but showed some really good signs of breaking through there. Peterson was injured a lot of the year. Part that he wasn't that good. He was hittable. He's got to get his walks down, get the pitches in the strike zone more. He was very vulnerable that way last year, gave up a lot of walks, and it hurt him in games. So Peterson we don't know about. Who's around still? Trevor Williams we still have? Who knows? Will they make an attempt to sign Marcus Stroman? I don't know. A lot of people say sign Stroman if you can. I'm not sure Stroman wants to come back. I don't think he likes the New York media. He's a New York kid. He knows what it's all about, but I don't think he likes the media. I don't think he likes the pressure pitching in New York. Pitched fairly well, but what are you going to pay this guy? He's a .500 career pitcher. He's 61 and 60. Yes, he's pretty durable. He makes all his starts and all of that. But still, he's a middle of the road. He's a third, fourth, fifth starter. Maybe more of a third or a fourth starter. He's not a number one starter, but he's going to want number one or number two money. And he may have the Mets now, in a bind because they need to get some more pitching in here. Or do they go after somebody else? Do you offer a Max Scherzer a contract for a year or two and put out a little bit of money? 2 years, who knows what it'll take. Even at the age of 37. It may not be a bad idea. They keep talking about signing Javi Baez, but I don't see how that doesn't solve the pitching problem. And it's a concern to me that if they sign Baez to a big contract, yes, Cohen says he's going to spend the money, he don't care. But it still ties up money. It ties up a lot of money. And do you want that much tied up between your second baseman and a shortstop? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And look, if they can't build the pitching staff up And I'm not talking by picking up, guys that are obviously over the hill or, something like that. I'm talking about with quality starters. Then maybe it's time to blow it all up. Maybe it's time you have to move somebody like an Alonso to bring in picks. And you may have to move a guy like that anyway to bring in a top-line pitcher. It's the way the game works sometimes. You've got to trade from what you have to get what you need. But that's all speculation. Is we are sitting on a CBA that we know we know nothing about what's going to happen. Apparently they're negotiating. That's a good thing. But what are they going to want? We know the owners want longer playoffs. Because they like the idea of people getting in. It's more money. I get that. I get that. The players don't necessarily want it, the union. But, this is what the owners are looking at right now. So that's what they're looking for. That's one of the things they want. There's issues over free agency. Players don't like the current system. Neither do the owners. But what do? They want to do away with the arbitration system. And look, the owners had a somewhat, not a bad idea. A certain age. But, that's a tough thing to negotiate, too. How do you figure out what's the perfect age for that? I think the owners propose the age of 29, and then you'd be a free agent, or 29 and a half. Well, that's fine if a guy comes up at 25, gets 4 years in. Now it's 6 or 7, I think he's got to be with. But what happens if you get a star like a Correa or a Soto that comes up at 19? Then they got to stay 10 years with a team. So I don't know how you do it. And you can't say if they come up at 19, it's X amount of years, because then you're back to the year thing anyway. I don't know what the owners base the 29 and a half on. If you did, maybe you could work a formula if that came out to 5 years of service, but then you just call it 5 years of service. And you're back. And they could still manipulate that anyway. The point is that once you hit that age, you'd be a free agent the following season. And so the service time really couldn't be manipulated. It would just be an age thing. But the union, I don't believe we're happy with that particular age. But maybe it's a starting point for, discussion. The other side of the coin is if you have it at say 27 and a guy comes up at 25, turns out to be a superstar, you only get him for 2 years and then before you got to pay him. So it's confusing. It's way over my head, but they have to figure something out because neither side is happy with it. Neither side is happy with arbitration. No word on whether we're going to have a DH, which ties the National League's hands. Do they sign players that have a DH? I think the Mets would be quite set if they did add a DH to the National League, simply because, don't forget Robinson Cano's coming back. Where's he going to play? If there's a DH, you stick him at DH. Or you stick Alonso at DH and you put Smith in at first. Or, you rotate these guys. McNeil could DH. something along that lines would probably work out the best, but it's all unknown until we hear about the CBA. All right, let's take a quickie break and be back right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get a PhD in life through baseball? Welcome to Baseball PhD, a tour company for your brain. 30 major league teams, 100 places to see. Let's touch them all as we make the road trip of a lifetime.
Follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/MetsMusings, on Twitter at MetsMusingsGM, the Instagram is MetsMusings, and on YouTube at MetsMusings Mack. Wish to be a part of the show? Give us a call at 516-619-6341. Okay, and we're back. And we forgot to mention that, what did I forget to mention? Oh, yeah. The Mets have a general manager, but they still got, now he's got to look for a manager as well. Now, I'm not sure how that works with the CBA. If they can hire a manager, being that it's not a union issue, it's more of an organization front office issue, they may be able to still hire managers and coaches and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure about that, so they could take care of that, perhaps, if there is a lockout or a strike or whatever you want to call it. But Mets need to take care of that as well, besides bringing in players. But they did do certain things. They last Friday night they had the deadline for roster moves and had to create a 40-man roster and protecting certain players from the December's Rule 5 draft. And the club announced that highly touted infield prospects Ronnie Mauricio and Mark Vientos, along with right-handed pitcher Jose Butto and Adam Oller, were selected to the 40-man roster. In addition, right-handed pitcher Dedniel Nuez was returned to the Mets and added to the AAA Syracuse roster. Nunes, 25, was selected by San Francisco in last year's Rule 5 draft, but he underwent Tommy John surgery in March and missed the entire season, allowing him to return to the Mets. Adding Mauricio and Vientos to the 40-man roster was the expected move, as the Mets have high hopes for both infield prospects. Butto, 23, is currently ranked as the team's number 13 prospect, while the 27-year-old Oller was named the Mets minor league pitcher of the year. So those guys were added. Now people are, what about Brett Batty? Well, he's not qualified yet to go on the Rule 5 draft, so they don't have to protect him. I think next year they may have to. Same thing with Alvarez. So don't worry that those guys are going to be exposed in the Rule 5 draft. They are not eligible yet for that, so there's no need to protect them. And I think it was because of the 2020 minor league season. Mauricio and Vientos have been in the system longer. Vientos is at AAA, or ended the year AAA, as did Mauricio, ended it at AA, I believe. So Batty and Vientos was both at AA and then at AAA. So Vientos, he only played 6 games, I think, at AAA, but performed well there and had a terrific season in AA as well. So And Batty has had a terrific Arizona Fall League season. So good for him. And the Mets did make a move, a small move. They signed outfielder Nick Plummer to a one-year Major League deal. This is the Mets' first offseason big league signing. Plummer, a 25-year-old former first-round pick who has never appeared in the majors, spent the last 6 years in the Cardinals organization, posting an .894 OPS between AAA and AA last summer. Now, this could be one of those, fill out the Syracuse roster type of deal and hope that you get lightning in a bottle. First-round pick, so it's got to have some talent, so we'll see. Maybe a change of scenery will bring it out. And 25 years old, little maturity, maybe it'll come out with the New York Mets. And that's about it for this Thanksgiving Day edition of Mets Musings. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And please hit the subscribe button and the like button. It makes everybody happy. And you can listen to the podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcasts. You can watch it on YouTube and wherever you get the podcast, all your podcasts. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us grow the show and expand to new listeners. So until next time, remember, keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'm Gary Mack, and I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.